on the spot. I simply know how Eddie feels about it. I wanted to talk to him about it. It just seems to me that the tactics and the things that took place in there under the direction of Tux Newman is something that must be watched very closely. I noted that you made a comment to Newman last week. It was that you're the one that was going to. He's telling you what the matches were going to be. And
I agree with you, Lance. It was uncalled for.
Okay, let's roll this tape now. Eddie and I are going to be talking about it. Bear in mind, this was a Southern Heavyweight Championship match between the King, who was the champion. And at this point, you see Tux Newman jump into the ring. The referee was down. Lawler coming up off of Savage. He had Savage in what I considered to be a position where he would have pinned him. Newman jumps in the ring. It resulted in a disqualification. Lawler grabs him and was going for a pile driver. There's no two ways about that. But Newman was an interloper in the ring. Savage hit him from behind, as you can see, fired him out on the floor. And this is only the beginning of the mayhem, which, though it was acted out by Savage, and he was loving every minute of it, the wild son of a gun was just eating it up as he was tearing people apart in there. You see Newman directing him, throwing back in the ring. Tux Newman, in my opinion, orchestrated the whole dad-blame thing, Eddie. And here you see a pile driver that Savage slams Lawler down into that mat. It's all over. He's already lost on a disqualification. He retains the title for the simple fact that he was disqualified. Newman knew he was going to get beat.
This is just one purpose right here. He wanted to injure Lawler. And anytime the man tries to injure someone on purpose, he's bound to be scared of what the man can do.
That's right. Now, I wanted to point out, there goes referee Jerry Calhoun. You see the object on the right side of your screen? This is a huge metal plate on which the Southern belt, there it is, right there, right in the middle of it, that Savage carried that Southern belt on. He takes Lawler. Calhoun tried to stop him, and there he pile drive Lawler's head. Now, that's the second pile drive. He flattened that thing out. It was a curved, big, heavy metal plate that he had the belt around. And that is what he slammed Lawler's head on. It was done with Newman throwing it in there, Newman directing the situation, and he obviously, as Eddie said, he had one intent in mind, and that was to put Lawler out of action. Look at Savage here.
I think that's where a lot of the damage came from.
Well,
right
sure.
there.
Came right down behind him. He had the Southern belt around his arm, slammed him right in behind.
There he goes again. And remember, the match is over.
That's right. This is all after Savage has already been disqualified for the action of Tux Newman. Now, following this, Lawler, of course, was taken to the hospital. But I want to make the point here that if it were not for the fact of the kind of size of neck and the conditioning and all that Lawler has undergone, he would have been dead. I'm convinced of it right now. Jerry, at that point, you could see, was holding his neck in there.
He was in pain.
Oh, boy, in pain. I got to tell you, and Savage is down there blowing his horn and screaming at the folks and carrying on in that totally unpredictable manner in which he does. And it was a situation that really disturbed me because Eddie was down there and was checking Jerry out at that
point. I was talking to Jerry, and
and you had already made some decisions right at that point, hadn't you?
That's right. I couldn't get the right answers from Lawler. I told him I was going to call for help, and he said, no, I'll be all right. Just let me stay here just a minute, and I'll walk out. But, anytime you have injuries to your neck or your spinal column, you need attention. So I demanded that Lawler go to the hospital. He kept saying, no, I don't want to go. But I finally talked him into going, and him being in the pain that he was in, I don't think Lawler really realized what could have been wrong with him.
He was not thinking clearly, Eddie. There was no question about that, because he was making comments like, hey, let me back at him. I am ready.
That's
and
right.
I mean, you know, he just didn't really realize at that point he had been slammed so goofy that he didn't realize exactly what happened. They took him out to the hospital, and he was x-rayed and so forth. And again, here's a question of where conditioning and the size neck. And Eddie, you've been through this yourself.
That's right.
And even on somebody who is in that kind of condition, the compression on that neck and the
very,
spine.
very dangerous later on.
Boy.
I believe the next morning after he woke up, he was certainly glad that he went to the hospital.